Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your curiosity, grab a whole stack of sources, and, well, try to make sense of it all for you.
That's right. And today we're exploring this hidden world, one that might be right in your backyard, honestly. More complex, more vital than you might think.
We are talking about bats.
And specifically for you, our listener, Brad Barfield, we're zooming in on southeast Arkansas, particularly Ashley County. We got your message, Brad, about how you see them in your front yard.
Yeah, feeding every evening. That's fantastic. And how they'll be out soon. It's a great connection.
It really is. And you described Ashley County as wonderfully bifurcated with the upper timberlands and the delta features.
That really struck us. It perfectly sets the stage for what we're doing today. This deep dive is definitely tailored for you, Brad, fueled by that fascination.
So our mission today, we've got research papers, ecological reports, historical surveys, quite the pile.
We're going to pull out the most important bits, the key insights about the ecology, the value, and, yeah, the challenges facing bats right there in southeast Arkansas.
It's kind of a shortcut, right, to getting you really informed about these creatures. They're often misunderstood.
Definitely. We'll touch on natural wonder, history's impact, some cool science.
Yeah, get ready for some surprises about their diet, how they've adapted, and some hidden threats they're facing locally.
Okay, so to really get these animals, we have to start with the ground they live on, the unique landscape of southeast Arkansas, the landscape that shapes life. Southeast Arkansas's unique ecological stage.
Exactly. Because when we talk about southeast Arkansas, Ashley County specifically, it's not just any old place. It's a critical transition zone.
Right, where two major ecoregions sort of bump into each other.
You've got the Mississippi Alluvial Plain, that's the Arkansas Delta, mostly.
Low-lying, very flat.
Rich soils, these alluvial soils, deposited by rivers over ages. Historically, just vast bottomland hardwood forests.
Cypress tupelo swamps, those winding bayous, you can almost picture it.
It was an incredible tapestry. Then, moving west within the region, you transition.
Towards the West Gulf Coastal Plain.
Yep. And the land changes. Rolling hills appear, sandier soils, lots of pine mixed with hardwoods.
That's that bifurcated nature Brad mentioned. Timberlands and delta features all blending together.
And the water. The hydrology is absolutely key.
The Washita and Saline rivers.
Dominant forces. Their huge floodplains support some of the best, most intact bottomland hardwood ecosystems left in the entire southeast. These aren't just woods, they're vital systems.
And right in the middle of this, you have these core conservation lands, protected areas.
Big ones, like Felsenthal National Wildlife Refuge, right where the Washita and Saline meet, famous for its huge bottomland forest.
In the Felsenthal Pool.
Right, this area that floods seasonally, thousands of acres underwater. It creates this incredibly rich feeding ground for wildlife, including bats.
Then there's overflow NWR, too.
Also protecting a vital piece of that forest. It's managed for waterfowl, sure, but it provides essential bat habitat, too.
Plus, places like the Crossett Experimental Forest, wildlife management areas, they all fit in.
And what this all means for the bats is that these forests, the cypress tupelo breaks, the oak gum cypress stands, the pine oak uplands, they provide the basics.
Roost sites and food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shelter and foraging grounds. It dictates where bats are and how many there can be.
So the landscape is the blueprint. But it's not just nature's design, is it? Human history has left a huge mark. Anthropogenic change.
You absolutely have to understand the history to get the present. If you look at those old General Land Office surveys, the GLO notes from the early 1800s for Ashley County.
What do they show?
A completely different world. A forest just full of structural diversity.
Like what?
Big old trees everywhere. Oaks, pines, gums, with lots of natural hollows, cavities, peeling bark.
A bat paradise, basically. All the natural homes they could want.
It really sounds like it was. And while Native American cultures were there for ages, the bluff dwellers, Caddo, Quapaw, Waukeeta means good hunting grounds, the really massive landscape changes kicked off after the Louisiana Purchase.
Industrial expansion.
Huge timber operations came in, cleared vast areas of virgin bottomland, hardwood, and pine forests.
Yeah.
Just leveled
And
them.
then farming moved in.
Yep. Conversion to agriculture, cotton was king, which simplified the landscape even more, taking away even more habitat.
But there was another layer of human impact, wasn't there? Something hidden.
Yeah, the chemical contamination. This is really sobering. For decades, those croplands were drenched in organochlorine pesticides.
DDT.
DDT is the most famous one, used heavily to kill pests.
But it was banned way back in 1972, right?
It was, but here's the kicker. It doesn't just go away. That ban didn't erase the problem. GDT persists. It builds up and the food web bioaccumulates. It's still out there, a latent threat.
So bringing it all together, this history, the logging, the farming, the chemicals, what does it mean for the bats in Ashley County today?
It means the bats you see now are living in a landscape that's fragmented, profoundly altered from what it was.
And those natural roosts, the big hollow trees.
Yeah. Drastically reduced. That's the core issue. Their reliance now on the few old trees left, and really critically, on human-made structures. That's a direct result of this history.
So conservation can't just be about setting aside land.
No, it has to be about restoring that structural complexity in the forest, finding ways to keep those big old trees, dealing with snags, and figuring out how bats and humans can coexist, given that bats are now relying on our structures too. It's working with this changed landscape. 2. The richness of night flyers. Bat species diversity in Ashley County.
Okay, let's shift to the present-day bats themselves. Arkansas has, 16 documented species? And they're all state protected?
That's right, 16 species. And they have incredibly diverse lifestyles. You've got bats that absolutely need caves for hibernation, mostly up in the Ozarks and Wakitas.
Then others that roost in trees, migrants.
And the bottomland hardwood specialists, which are really key for southeast Arkansas.
Because this area doesn't have those big cave systems.
Exactly. It's the forested wetlands, the rivers that shape the bat community here, favors species that use trees and other structures.
And some of these are federally listed, endangered or threatened.
4 of the state's species are, which means their potential presence here makes careful management absolutely critical.
So how do scientists know which bats are actually in Ashley County in places like Felsenthal?
Through fieldwork. Primarily mist netting, setting up fine nets to catch them gently, and acoustic monitoring, using detectors to record their echolocation calls.
And what have these surveys found? Any big surprises?
One really significant find was the first confirmed record of Rafinesque's big-eared bat. That's Corynornis rafinesci in Ashley County. They caught 2 females at Felsenthal back in May 2005.
Why is that one so special?
It's one of the least understood bats in Arkansas, and it has really specific habitat needs. Finding it there confirmed the importance of the area for this species of conservation concern. It was a big deal.
Wow. Okay, what other bats are definitely residents there?
Well, there's the southeastern Myotis, Myotis austroriparius, a real bottomland specialist. Loves big hollow trees near water.
Okay.
The big brown bat, Eptesicus fiscus, is pretty common, a generalist. Uses dead trees, snags, but also buildings. You find them all over.
And the eastern red bat? I think I've heard of that one.
Lassuris borealis. Very common, very widespread. It actually roosts in the leaves of trees, just hangs there looking like a dead leaf.
Really? Camouflage.
Exactly. Then there's the evening bat, Nycticius humoralis, also common, uses trees and buildings. And interestingly, its numbers have actually increased in some areas after white nose syndrome hit other species hard.
That's fascinating. A survivor adapting to the change. What about species that haven't fared so well?
The tricolored bat, Paramyotis subslavus, it used to be called the eastern pipistrelle, has been absolutely hammered by white nose syndrome everywhere, but it still hangs on in the region.
And the little brown bat.
Myotis lucifugus. It's found statewide, including the Delta, but WNS caused catastrophic declines. Just devastating for that species.
So a real mix. Are there others likely to be there, even if not caught directly in Ashley County?
Yeah, based on their range and the habitat, several others are highly probable. The Brazilian free-tailed bat, Taurida brasiliensis, famous for huge colonies under bridges like in Austin. They're definitely in southern Arkansas.
Okay.
And the Seminole bat, Lassuris seminolis, and the hoary bat, Lassuris cinereus, both foliage roosters, often found in forests like those in the region. The hoary bat is migratory too.
Got it. But circling back to those federally protected ones, which one is the biggest concern for Ashley County managers?
The northern long-eared bat, Myotis septentrionalis. It's federally endangered now, and it is confirmed in Felsenthal and WR.
So that makes Felsenthal incredibly important for its survival.
Absolutely critical habitat. Its presence really underscores how vital those forests and wetlands are.
And just to be super clear, the bats that need caves, like gray bats or Indiana bats, we wouldn't expect to find them here.
Generally, no. The lack of extensive caves means those species aren't really part of the Ashley County bat scene. The focus here is definitely on the tree and structure roosters.
The sources mention a checklist and status table. How does that help a land manager on the ground? Is it easy to use that info?
That table is super useful. It pulls together the conservation status, the main habitats. It gives managers a quick, solid overview.
So they know who's there, what they need, and who's in trouble.
Exactly. It helps them prioritize. The challenge, of course, is always translating that data into action across different types of land, public, private. But having that consolidated info is the essential first step. It helps them focus their efforts effectively. 3. The intricate lives of bats. Ecology in a caveless landscape.
Okay, we know the place, we know the players, now let's get into their lives. How does living in a landscape without caves change everything for them, especially finding shelter?
It changes everything. Roosts are fundamental. Protection from predators, weather, raising young, saving energy through thermoregulation. It all happens at the roost.
So without caves, what do they use?
A mix. Natural roosts are still key, the gifts of the forest, you could say. But also, increasingly, human-made or anthropogenic structures.
Let's start with the natural ones. What does the forest offer?
Trees, primarily. And within trees, hollows and cavities are gold. But they're limited, especially the big old ones needed for maternity colonies.
Where the females raise the pups.
Right. Research shows species like the southeastern myotis and Rafinesque big-eared bat rely heavily on these, especially in big cypress and tupelo trees in those flooded bottomlands.
So they need specific kinds of trees, old ones, like bat high-rises.
That's a good way to put it. They offer stable temperatures, protection, crucial for raising pups. A single big tree might hold hundreds of southeastern myotis moms and babies.
Wow. Losing one of those trees is a huge loss then.
A massive blow to the local population. Preserving those veteran trees is absolutely critical.
What about other tree features, not just hollows?
Dead trees, snags with loose peeling bark are also really important. A study up in the Wakitas found big brown bats loved roosting under the loose bark of shortleaf pine snags, decent-sized ones, 6 inches thick or more.
So deadwood is good wood for bats.
Very much so. Even male Rufus big-eared bats will use loose bark for roosting alone in the summer.
And some just hide in leaves. Seems risky.
It works for them. Eastern red bats and Seminole bats are masters of camouflage, hanging among leaves, looking like part of the tree. Even tricolored bats use leaf clusters sometimes.
Okay, now the anthropogenic roosts. Human structures. Given the loss of old forests, these sound less like a convenience and more like a necessity.
They often are. Especially for Rafinesque's big-eared bat. Abandoned buildings, old wooden structures, they're vital. There's that famous colony in the old Taylor house in Drew County, next door to Ashley. Around 200 bats?
200 in one old house.
Yep. They regularly form decent-sized colonies in buildings like that. And other bats, like big browns and little browns, use attics, wall voids, behind shutters, anywhere warm and safe for raising pups.
Bridges must be useful too, with all the rivers and creeks.
Definitely. Brazilian free-tailed bats are known for using bridges forming big colonies. But here's something really unique for this caveless region.
What's that?
Abandoned old hand-dug water wells.
Wells. How do they use wells?
Those underground shafts provide a cool, stable environment. Perfect substitute for a cave as a winter hibernation spot, a hibernaculum. Especially important for Rafinesque's big-eared bat here.
That's fascinating. And the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission actually works with timber companies on this.
Yeah, it's a great conservation story. They work together to put safe covers on these old wells. It removes a safety hazard for people and wildlife, and it protects absolutely critical winter habitat for this bat species. A real win-win.
That's really smart conservation. Okay, so they've got places to sleep. What about food? What are the bats Brad sees in his yard likely eating?
Well, southeast Arkansas is insect heaven. All those rivers, bayous, wetlands, they produce a staggering amount of insects. It's a massive food base for these insect-eating bats.
A nightly feast. Where do they tend to hunt?
They often follow linear features, logging roads, trails, edges, but especially areas along water riparian zones.
Makes sense. Insects emerging from the water.
Exactly. Lots of aquatic insects hatch at night. So bats concentrate their hunting over rivers, streams, ponds. Studies show species like eastern red bats are caught most often over water. They'll often even swoop down for a drink right after leaving the roost before they start hunting.
Okay, but how do we really know what's on the menu? Looking at droppings sounds messy and maybe not that accurate.
It used to be, picking apart tiny insect bits from guano. But now science has this amazing tool, DNA metabarcoding.
Sounds fancy, like a DNA scanner for bat poop.
Pretty much. It analyzes the DNA fragments in the guano and can identify virtually every insect species the bat ate. Much more accurate than the old ways.
So what has this DNA analysis shown for bats in this region?
A big study looked at winter diets across the southeast coastal plain, including forests like Ashley counties. Found bats eat a wide variety, but the top 3 insect groups are Coleoptera beetles. Diptera, that's flies and mosquitoes. and Lepidoptera moths.
Does it vary? Does an eastern red bat eat the same as a big brown bat?
Good question. No, it varies. That study found eastern red bats ate mostly moths, over 41% moths. Big brown bats focused heavily on beetles, over 45%. And tricolored bats. Almost half their diet was flies.
Why is this important, beyond just bat diets?
Because, and this is crucial, they eat a lot of pest insects. That winter study alone found they ate at least 47 species considered pests in farming or forestry.
Like what? Give us examples for southeast Arkansas.
Things like the Nantucket pine-tip moth, a major pest in young pine stands. The pale weevil damages pine seedlings. That's direct benefit to the timber industry. Plus, agricultural pests like garden tortrix moths, green clover worms.
So Brad's seeing bats in his yard. They're providing free pest control, year-round, potentially.
Potentially, yes.
Oh.
Especially for species active in winter.
And what about Ruffedesque's big-eared bat, that special resident? Relatives like the Ozark big-eared bat are moth specialists, so it's highly likely Ruffedesque's is too. Which makes sense in that landscape mix of forests and fields where moths are common.
Exactly. It helps explain how they survive there. And this connects to two really important conservation points.
Okay, what are they?
First, conserving Ruffedesques means working across boundaries. They need the natural foraging areas, maybe on public land like Felsenthal, and they need those old buildings for roosts, often on private land, surrounded by fields providing their food.
So it requires collaboration, public land managers, private landowners, farmers.
It has to be a landscape scale effort.
Yeah?
And second, the economic value of bats is probably way underestimated.
How so?
Because most estimates only look at summer pest control. But the DNA evidence shows significant winter feeding on pests too, especially in milder climates like southeast Arkansas. That year-round service is incredibly valuable to the local timber and farming economies. It's a powerful argument for protecting them.
That really reframes their value. Okay, let's get into their life cycle, their biology. How do they reproduce, survive the seasons?
Their whole life history is fascinating. They reproduce really slowly, which makes them vulnerable. Most species around here only have one pup a year.
And they have that weird delayed fertilization thing.
Remarkable adaptation, isn't it? They mate in the fall or winter, but the female stores the sperm. Doesn't actually get pregnant until spring.
Why do that?
It times everything perfectly. Gestation, raising the pup, it all happens when insect food is most abundant in late spring and summer. It's a biological calendar to maximize success.
So when is that critical maternity season?
Roughly May through early August, and it's a super vulnerable time. Females gather in these warm, safe maternity colonies. Could be an attic, under a bridge, in a tree cavity, like nurseries.
And just one pup, usually?
Mostly, yeah. Some, like big browns, might have twins. But the pups are born tiny, helpless, need mom's milk and warmth for weeks until they can fly. So if something happens to that colony, if it gets disturbed...
You lose the whole year's offspring for that group.
Exactly. It can devastate a local population because they just don't bounce back quickly. Disturbing a maternity colony is a major problem.
That really highlights their sensitivity. How do they handle winter then, especially without deep caves?
They rely on torpor. It's like controlled hibernation. They lower their body temperature, heart rate, metabolism. Everything slows down to save energy.
Short naps versus long sleep.
Kind of. They use short bouts of torpor even in summer, but in winter it's more prolonged hibernation, though southern hibernation is a bit different.
How is it different down south?
Research shows bats here, like tricolors and Ruffedesques, have shorter, shallower torpor bouts. They don't get quite as cold as northern bats.
Why? Is there an advantage?
It lets them wake up more easily on warm winter nights and actually go out and forage. Catch insects that might be active. Northern deep hibernators can't really do that.
But wait, doesn't that shallow hibernation make them more vulnerable to white nose syndrome? That seems backwards.
It's the cruel irony. The fungus that causes WNS, PD, loves cool, damp places. And its ideal growth temperature happens to match the warmer body temperatures these southern bats maintain during their shallow hibernation.
So their bodies are like perfect incubators for the fungus.
In a way, yes. While colder northern caves might slow the fungus down, the milder conditions here might actually help it thrive on the bats. It helps explain why WNS has been so devastating even with milder winters.
Wow. What about other weather extremes? Climate change.
That's another growing threat. Extreme summer heat waves. They can turn bat boxes or attics into deadly ovens. Temperatures over 104 Fahrenheit can kill pups.
And cold snaps.
Unseasonable cold can wipe out insect food suddenly, forcing bats into emergency torpor in risky exposed spots, making them easy prey or causing them to starve.
Their whole sensory world must be amazing, too, flying in the dark, through trees.
Their wings, the Chiropteran wing, literally hand wing, are incredible. Those long finger bones, the flexible membrane, gives them amazing flight control in cluttered forests.
An echolocation, that's their sonar, right?
Biocenter, yeah. They send out high-frequency clicks and listen to the echoes bouncing back. It creates this detailed sound map of their world, lets them dodge obstacles, find tiny insects in total darkness.
Do different bats call differently?
They do. Calls are tuned to where they hunt. Lower frequency for open areas travels farther. Higher frequency for dense woods gives more detail up close.
What about their brains? Is it just processing sound?
It's incredibly sophisticated. Research on big brown bats shows their brains start sorting sounds. Is this another bat? Is it navigation? Super early in the process, a neural shortcut for fast reactions.
And other research.
Work on fruit bats found their hippocampus, the brain's navigation center, maps not just physical place, but social information too, like who else is nearby. It links spatial awareness and social lives in a really fundamental way.
They're clearly complex animals, so what does all this mean for their role out there in the ecosystem? Bats as ecosystem architects, services and dynamics.
It means they're not just passive residents. They actively shape the ecosystem. They're architects.
And their biggest job, architecturally speaking, is eating insects. The economic and ecological value there.
That's absolutely their number one service, pest suppression. They eat staggering amounts of insects that damage crops, forests, or carry diseases.
Give us those numbers again. How much do they really eat?
Well, remember, a single little brown bat can snag over 1,000 mosquito-sized insects in just 1 hour.
1,000 an hour.
And that study estimated a small colony of 150 big brown bats eats almost 1.3 million pest insects. Cucumber beetles, June bugs, stink bugs over a summer. Just imagine scaling that up.
That has to have a real dollar value.
Huge value. Nationwide, bats save U.S. agriculture somewhere between $3.7 and $53 billion a year. That's billion with a B.
How do they figure that?
It's the cost of pesticides farmers don't have to buy because bats ate the pests, plus the value of the crops not eaten by insects. Avoided costs and saved crops.
And you said these numbers might even be low for places like Southeast Arkansas.
Right, because they often don't fully capture the value of forest pest control, which is huge for the timber industry here. And it doesn't always account for that year-round service we talked about. It's a massive free benefit to the local economy.
Okay, so bats are predators. But who eats bats?
Owls are major predators. Great horned owls, barn owls, hawks like red-tails or Cooper's hawks might grab them at dawn or dusk. Snakes can get them at roosts.
And cats.
Unfortunately, yes. Domestic cats can be significant predators, especially near homes. Something for pet owners to be aware of.
With so many bat species potentially sharing the same space, how do they avoid stepping on each other's toes, competing for food?
That's where niche partitioning comes in. They find ways to divide up the resources. 3 main ways. Spatial partitioning, hunting in different spots, maybe forest edge versus deep woods, or high versus low.
Okay.
Dietary partitioning, specializing on different sizes or types of insects, even in the same area.
And temporal partitioning.
Hunting at different times. Some are most active right at dusk, others later in the night, maybe peeking before dawn. It minimizes direct competition.
It sounds like a balanced system, but WNS completely upended that balance, didn't it? You called it a massive unintentional experiment.
It really is. There's this ecological idea, competitive exclusion, basically. 2 species needing the exact same things can't coexist forever, one wins out. WNS came in and acted like a giant tragic experiment on that idea.
By selectively removing some species.
Exactly. It targeted certain bats horribly. That study in the Watches showed northern long-eared bat captures dropped 98%. 98%. Tricolored bats down 77%. Just catastrophic declines for some.
But then, the evening bat.
Here's the flip side, the competitive release. The evening bat, which isn't hit hard by WNS, saw its numbers jump 220% in the same period.
Wow. Because its competitors were gone.
Precisely.
Yeah.
With the other bats decimated, suddenly there was all this food and roost space available. The evening bat population exploded to fill that gap.
So WNS isn't just about decline. It's about totally restructuring the whole community, winners and losers.
That's the key takeaway. It's actively re-engineering the forest bat community. What was a complex, balanced system is becoming potentially much less diverse, dominated by a few resistant species like the evening bat.
That must have ripple effects on the forest itself, on insect populations.
Huge implications. Managers now have to track not just who's declining, but who's increasing, and figure out what that means for the ecosystem long term. V, battling the odds. Conservation challenges and imperatives.
We've seen their intricate lives, their value, but also these immense challenges. Let's focus on those threats, starting with the biggest immediate one, white nose syndrome.
Yeah, WNS is still the elephant in the room for many Arkansas bats, caused by that fungus, Bite.
And it messes up their hibernation.
Critically. It irritates them, makes them wake up way too often in winter. Each time they wake up, they burn precious fat reserves. They essentially starve to death before spring arrives and the insects return.
When did it hit Arkansas?
First found in 2012. Now it's confirmed in at least 15 counties, mostly in the mountains where the caves are, but the impact is felt statewide.
And the toll on specific species.
Just devastating. Little brown bats are practically gone statewide. Tricolored bats down maybe 88% or more since 2010. Northern long-eared bats got uplisted to endangered largely because of WNS.
Are others affected too?
Southeastern myotis, big brown bats. They can get it. And even Rephinus big-eared bat has been found carrying the fungus, even if it hasn't caused mass die-offs yet. The risk is there.
A truly awful disease. But there's that other threat lurking, the contaminants.
Yes, the chronic danger. That study in Drew County, right next to Ashley, was a real eye-opener.
Finding high levels of DDT decades after the ban.
Shockingly high levels of DDT in its breakdown products, DDE and DDD, in Rephinus big-eared bats in 2014. Sometimes 6 times higher than levels found before the ban.
How is that even possible? Where is it coming from?
The thinking is it's stuck in the river and bayou sediments, places like Bayou Bartholomew. In low-oxygen mud, it breaks down incredibly slowly.
And then gets back into the food chain.
Exactly. Aquatic insects pick it up from the sediment, bats eat the insects, and it biomagnifies. Gets more and more concentrated as you go up the food chain, reaching dangerous levels in top predators like bats.
Could these two huge threats, WNS and DDT, be interacting, making each other worse?
That is the terrifying hypothesis. Could chronic exposure to chemicals like DDT weaken a bat's immune system, make it less able to fight off WNS, or survive the stress?
A 1-2 punch.
Potentially, especially in the Delta, where bats might be dealing with both legacy pesticides and the arriving WNS fungus. It's a critical research question.
Beyond disease and poison, there's still the old problem of habitat loss and just dealing with humans.
Right. Modern forestry, if not done carefully, can remove those vital structures, taking out big old cavity trees, clearing snags. It directly reduces natural roosts for bats like southeastern myotis or big browns.
And when natural homes disappear, they move into ours. Attics, barns.
Which leads to human-wildlife conflict. Guano buildup, odor, sometimes health concerns like histoplasmosis from the fungus in old droppings, though that's rare.
And rabies.
Rabies is very rare in bats, less than 1%.
Yeah.
But any bat acting strangely or found where it shouldn't be needs caution. Don't touch it, call professionals. The risk is low, but real.
So if you do have bats in a building, how do you get them out safely, humanely?
Humane exclusion is the way. Seal up all the entry holes except one, put a one-way door on that last hole so they can get out, but not back in.
But the timing is crucial.
Absolutely vital. You cannot do an exclusion during the maternity season. In Arkansas, that's roughly May 15th to July 31st.
Why not?
Because you'll trap the flightless baby bats inside. They can't get out. They starve, they die, they decompose. It's inhumane, and it creates a horrible mess and odor. Timing is everything for humane exclusion.
The sources had that threat matrix. How does a tool like that help managers sort through all these complex problems?
It's a way to visualize the risks. It lays out the main species and scores their vulnerability to WNS, contaminants, roost loss, human disturbance.
So you can see at a glance, like Rephinus is vulnerable to almost everything.
Exactly. Or northern long-eared is extremely vulnerable to WNS, while evening bat isn't so much. It helps managers focus limited resources on the biggest threats to the most vulnerable species. It helps prioritize action. 6. Charting a course. Synthesis and recommendations for bat conservation.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground,
Yeah.
from the landscape to the species, their lives, their value, the threats. Let's try to synthesize this. What's the big picture for Ashley County's bats?
The big picture is a unique bat community, shaped by this specific landscape: bottomlands, uplands, agriculture, no caves. It favors tree and structure roosters.
Bats that provide essential, valuable ecosystem services?
Hugely valuable, especially that year-round pest control for farming and forestry, directly benefiting the local economy even if folks don't realize it.
But they face this complex storm of interacting threats.
That's the crux. Catastrophic WNS changing everything. This lingering, insidious threat of DDT contamination potentially making WNS worse. Ongoing loss of the big old trees they need. And conflicts arising because they have to use our structures sometimes.
So conservation here can't be simple.
No, it needs a tailored approach.
Right.
It has to go beyond just refuge borders. It needs to link natural habitats, private lands, farming, forestry, public health. It needs to be integrated.
Right, let's get concrete. Actionable recommendations. For land managers, for people like Brad, for anyone who cares, what's top priority for protecting roosts?
Rooster number one, availability limits populations here. So forest management plans, public and private, need clear rules to keep snags, den trees, big hollow trees, especially those key species, shortleaf pine, cypress, tupelo.
And protect river corridors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wide, unharvested buffer strips along rivers and streams, those are prime bat zones.
What about the buildings and wells they use, especially for Riffinesques?
We need a proactive program for that. Reach out to landowners in Ashley, Drew, Union counties. Find out where these old buildings and wells are. Offer help, technical advice on maintaining them safely for bats. Use conservation tools, easements, safe harbor agreements, maybe financial help through groups like Bat Conservation International or state programs.
Makes sense. What about monitoring and research? What do we still need to know?
A lot. We need consistent long-term monitoring. Standardized acoustic surveys, like the NABAT program, at places like Felsenthal and Overflow. Track those WNS declines, but also track how species like the evening bat are doing that competitive release effect.
And the DDT? You said immediate follow-up was needed.
Critically needed. We need dedicated research right there in the Bayou Bartholomew watershed through Ashley County. Screen bat guano, screen insects, screen the sediment for these legacy pesticides, map out where the risk is highest, figure out if it's interacting with WNS. We have to understand that threat properly.
And dealing with bats in buildings, reducing conflict, promoting public health.
Clear guidance is key. Work with extension services, pest control operators. Get clear, consistent info out there on humane exclusion. And hammer home that timing rule. NO exclusions May 15th to July 31st. Period.
What about just general public understanding, reducing fear?
We need good outreach materials, factual info on the real low risks of rabies and histoplasmosis. Emphasize, don't handle bats. Know who to call. Reduce the fear factor, build appreciation, promote coexistence.
And finally, partnerships. It sounds like nobody can solve this alone.
Absolutely not. These problems cross property lines, agency jurisdictions. We need stronger partnerships. Federal agencies like Fish and Wildlife Service, state agencies like Game and Fish and Natural Heritage, university researchers like at UA Monticello, big landowners like timber companies.
Get everyone talking, sharing data, aligning goals.
Tooling resources. And importantly, get private landowners involved. Promote those cost-share programs, like through NRCS, that offer incentives for doing bat-friendly habitat work on private land. Empower everyone to be part of the solution.
Wow, what a journey through the world of Ashley County's bats. So, to wrap it all up, these aren't just spooky night creatures. They're vital parts of the Southeast Arkansas ecosystem.
Absolutely. Providing invaluable services, protecting forests and crops right there in your community, Brad, often completely unseen.
But facing this daunting mix of threats, WNS, pesticides, habitat loss, that really puts their future in question.
It demands our attention, our understanding, and our action.
So the final thought for you, our listener, maybe especially for Brad, seeing those bats in the yard. Given that the future of these vital creatures, working quietly in our own communities, depends on us understanding their hidden world. What other connections, what other responsibilities might we discover right in our own backyards? Think about the ripples, protecting even the small, misunderstood parts of nature. What does that mean for the whole fabric of life in a place like Ashley County?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you'll keep looking up at the night sky.